The problem with feminism and the women's movement,
Yeah.
it didn't account for becoming a mother. Gloria Steinem, God bless her. I don't hate these people. I'm just saying Gloria never had babies. So how the fuck do we do what the men are doing and be a good mother?
Y'all need to clock this, okay? Because right now we're seeing a lot of anti-feminist propaganda that is playing on mothers who are employed outside the home's exhaustion and need for help from their partners, and spinning it to say, see, that's why you're really supposed to be a housewife, because, doing both is so hard. Meanwhile, the reason doing both is so hard is because your husband or partner is a piece of shit. That children's father is not doing his fair share of domestic labor. That's why you are suffering. But they're taking the mistakes and the shortcomings of the children's father, and they're taking that blame and they're shifting it to the movement. They're saying, oh, no, it's not your lazy husband's fault that you're frazzled and, doing double the amount of domestic labor with less than half the leisure time. Oh, no, it's Gloria Steinem's fault. Go get that bitch. Yeah, that 91-year-old, that's her fault. The assumption by these incredibly misogynistic and historically ignorant people is that because Gloria Steinem didn't have children, that means the movement didn't include mothers. Do they think that Gloria Steinem was the only feminist in the second wave? Let's start with the lady who kicked it off, for white women anyway. But since the people in this video are white, I think this tracks. Betty Friedan, you heard of her? For those who need their memory refreshed, Betty Friedan was the author of the 1963 bestseller, The Feminine Mystique, which is credited to have kicked off the second wave feminist movement. She was also the co-founder of the National Organization for Women. Not a small player in this game. And look at that. 3 children. The whole book was about the struggles and malaise and depression associated with being a housewife, having no intellectual stimulation and being alone with children all day and isolated in a suburban home. That kicked off the whole thing, at least for the women we pretend to care about, white women. Would you like to hear more? Our Bodies Ourselves, written by a group of women that eventually became known as the Boston Women's Health Book Collective, and they published this book back in the 70s. 1973 to be exact. Does that year sound familiar? Here's a photo of the original women that wrote Our Bodies Ourselves, the Boston Women's Health Book Collective. I clicked on the bios of a bunch of these women, and let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 of them. About 4 of them are moms, particularly the women who wrote the sections on pregnancy, postpartum depression, and childbirth, had children. This is a PDF from the Journal of the Motherhood Initiative. Feminists have always been calling for the rights of mothers. Always. Mothers have always been part of the conversation. Maybe not in the pop culture version of boss bitch feminism that you are aware of, but in actual real feminism, yeah, mothers have always been part of the conversation. Because we are the primary caregivers. And any society who treats the people who are the primary caregivers of its next generation the way we treat mothers, like shit, is not a good society. And since the 70s, women feminists have been advocating for equal pay. How does that affect mothers? If your husband leaves you and you can't get alimony or child support, you need to be able to get a job making enough money to support you and your kids. Number 2, paid maternity leave. Paid parental leave. We've been fighting for that forever. We got 12 weeks. Abortion rights. Abortion rights are mothers' rights. Because abortion rights is just one prong of something called reproductive justice, primarily spearheaded by Black feminists. Here's what reproductive justice is. From the National Latina Institute for Reproductive Justice, what is the difference between reproductive health, rights, and justice? Reproductive health focuses on providing direct services, improving and expanding services, research, and access to reproductive health services, like providing funding so that you can get certain medications, making sure you have insurance, making sure there are enough clinics nationwide in every county and enough providers that can give you the services you need. Reproductive rights focuses on protecting the legal rights to access reproductive health care services, with a focus on keeping abortion legal and increasing access to family planning services, i.e. birth control. Reproductive rights organizations and advocates focus on the courts, law, and advocacy. So that's the legal bit of it. And finally, reproductive justice. It's reproductive rights with a social lens. They focus on movement building. Reproductive justice organizations see reproductive oppression as the result of the intersection of multiple oppressions, intrinsically connected to the struggle for social justice and human rights, puts women of color and their communities at the center, where we belong, supporting their leadership and their power. This kind of brings it home, this quote: reproductive justice clarifies the ways that women's decisions are shaped by unequal access to power and resources, by the environment, by economics, and by culture. Put simply, reproductive justice is the right to have children, the right to not have children, and the right to birth and raise those children in a safe, productive environment, free from interference, free from, poisoned water, etc. It encompasses all of that. Black feminists have been doing this for forever. And white feminists eventually hopped on the bandwagon. But this is led by us. Because unlike our white counterparts, Black women have always worked. We've always had to work and we've always had to mother. And neither of those jobs were paid, and we never got to determine when, where, and how we did those jobs. Because a white man or a white woman had held title to our bodies. They controlled when we worked, how much we worked, when, if, and how we had children. We didn't control who fathered our kids. We didn't control how many or when we had them. Black women done been here. Because not only were we raising our kids and birthing our kids, we were nursing and raising yours. Also, feminists organized in conjunction with the labor movement to get the Pregnancy Discrimination Act passed in 1978. So it was the UAW, AFL-CIO, Women's Law Project, a bunch of other women's rights organizations, union organizations teamed up to get this done. What kicked this off and recognized the need for this was a 1976 Supreme Court case that ruled that it was permissible for employers to deny benefits to pregnant women. Essentially, it gave pregnant women the same rights and benefits that you would afford workers with disabilities. So I don't know what feminism you're talking about, but actual feminism, the history of feminism as a movement, not only included plenty of mothers, but was spearheaded and kicked off by mothers at every turn. Mothers were always there. Mothers were always around. You, sir, you, madam, are ignorant of history. Especially you, the woman in this video. You're a woman. You are shockingly ignorant of your own history. Get it together. Stop spreading this propaganda, please. I beg of you.